Stand by to launch FanStream Sports.
3, 2, 1. Let's start.
Hello, sports fans. Welcome to FanStream Sports. Nothing but pure sports. This is the JP Show.
JP, it is so good to hear you back on the air.
Stand by. Now, here's JP.
All right, welcome into a Thursday edition of the JP Peterson Show. Man, we are loaded today. We are loaded. I've been drinking since 6 a.m. No, not that loaded. Nick got a little scared there for a second. No, we're loaded with good information, great topics. I always know it's a great topic when I talk to Nick about it and he starts shivering. Like, are we really going to talk about that today? No, we don't. Yes, we're going to talk about it today. Yes, we're going to talk about all kinds of good stuff today. The Rays, well, I shouldn't say the Rays. Major League Baseball sending out a survey to Rays fans about a new park. And what's in that survey has Rays fans all the Twitter, so to speak. So we're going to get into that. We're going to take this survey. We want you to take it along with us. And we're going to get into why MLB is sending out emails to Rays fans and not the Rays. Although I think the Rays did do a survey. No, that was Mayor Castor. That did a survey.
I know that we did a survey.
Good morning,
last
Nick.
year. Good morning to you. I know we did a survey last year on the air, and I think part of it had to do with the stadium, but it was directly from the Rays.
Right.
So this is the difference. This is from Major League Baseball. Very interesting
development. I think a very positive one, and I'll tell you why as we go through the show here.
Well, I have to admit real quick, I'm reeling to start this show at the moment.
Why are you reeling?
Because you showed me a clip before we went on the air.
Yes.
And it has brought back dark times.
Yeah, some Buccaneers fan.
Which I don't know why Buccaneers fans are going to put this all over the timeline right now.
DJ Bucs fan. I'll just retweet it because, I'm sick. I'll say these days are over.
I'm not going to put it up on the stream because I'm not going to subject anybody to that.
It was. I remember watching this from the press box. It was the stiff arm of all stiff arms on who was that? Chris Conte.
It was Chris Conte. It was Vance McDonald.
Vance McDonald on Chris Conte, and it actually ended his career.
It did.
It ended his career. Did. They're one-on-one out in the open, and he just stiff arms him and throws him down like a little bitch, and then runs it to. And I love Chris Conte. Like that's the thing about when the great Rudyard Kipling poem about the man in the arena, and that Tom Brady loves so much. And you know what? He's got the balls to be out there, and he's got the fortitude. It would many of us would not be out there because we're afraid of what might happen to us. So you go into the arena, and that makes you a stronger man than anybody else sitting on a keyboard. But damn, that's what can happen to you, bro. No. That's what can happen to you. And man, it's for the world to see. And he was a very, very good player in his day. But that's all Bucs fans will ever remember. He was a good player. He was a good player. I mean, you make it to the NFL, you're a good player. I'm just talking about in terms of that.
By NFL standards, he was not a good player. He represents Mike Smith in my opinion.
He stayed in the league for what, 10 years?
I don't know how. When he reminds me of Mike Smith. But that play, though, is symbolic.
This is what I'm saying. This is all you remember of the dude's career, and he actually had a very good career.
Very good career.
Yes, you stay in the league 10 years, you've had a very good career.
I don't know how he stayed on bad teams.
Sorry. So what?
Symbolic.
How many years you got in?
Whoa.
That's my point.
Whoa.
That's my point.
This is 2 times this week my skills have been buried. Eric buried my football skills, and now you're burying my football skills. And I'm just catching strays for no reason.
I'm just saying that just from a global aspect, he's a hell of a football player. He made it to the NFL.
This was symbolic of all my hope of that season because they started off 2-0. Fitzmagic. It went up in smoke because of Chris freaking Conte.
Yeah, it wasn't just him.
But
it's
a new day. It's a new day.
It's a new day. I don't know how we got sidetracked on that, but we did. Damn you, Twitter. So we're going to talk about this survey and what it's all about, and we'll get into that a little bit. The Bucs obviously practicing again yesterday, getting ready for said Pittsburgh Steelers, and the injury list is long, and it is replete with defensive backs. But with the good news is Jamel Dean and Carlton Davis III are at practice, so they're good to go. The usual litany of receivers on the list as well.
Every week.
Russell Gage did not practice, so he's got an ankle. Whether he's going to be available this week, we don't know. But Godwin and Evans will play. The emergence of Cade Otton as a dependable receiver, Rashad White as a dependable receiver, Leonard Fournette. All of those things are good things, and this offense is going to grow as the season goes on.
Yep.
And I really feel like this is a patience thing. I know I got a little impatient this week with the second half, but there are certain expectations that we want to see, and whether they just decided to shut it down in the second half or whatever. Lack of execution, it wasn't good, but I really feel like this offense is going to grow into a 30-point-a-game offense. I really do.
They got a great chance this week because the Steelers are allowing, I think, the 31st most yards through the air.
Can you believe that?
Think about that. A Steelers defense.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at their injury report, has some notable names on it. Listen to Minkah Fitzpatrick. Did not participate.
Their best player.
Pat Fryermuth on offense. He has a concussion. Did not practice.
Yeah.
Larry Ogunjobi, and then a trio of corners: Cam Sutton, Levi Wallace, and Akella Witherspoon. All did not practice yesterday.
Julio Jones is going to get suddenly healthy when he sees this list.
I think Jalen Darden's taking notes from Julio and Gage in a bad way because he's on the injury report for a tooth injury.
Well,
a tooth.
Did you see? I had to tweet this out during the game. He catches the ball at like the 5-yard line on a punt, and there's nobody within 30 yards of him. It was one of those punts. So he's got to return this back, and he's on the right hash. And I'm like, okay, well, he's going to go to run to the right sideline like he always does. Well, he actually had so much space in the middle that he had to run up the middle. And I'm like, oh, my God, he's actually going to be tackled. He might be tackled this time. Because if you notice, he's never been tackled. Ever.
Because he thinks there's like hot girls on the sideline.
He runs out of bounds every time.
He's running.
And previously, he caught about 6 yards from the left out of bounds and juked like he was going in the middle, and the guy took the fake. Does that dude not watch any film whatsoever? What does he watch? No film whatsoever? He actually thought Jalen Darden was going to run up the middle? Well, you moron. Well, how much? He's never, ever run up the middle. He fakes going to the middle and then runs to the sideline every single time. So now he's running up the middle, and it's like he's got 10, 15 yards in front of him. I'm like, wow, he could turn it up, actually go up the middle and maybe make something of this. But no. He runs to the left sideline and somehow finds his way out of bounds before he can be tackled. The dude has never been tackled. Show me someplace in where he's ever been tackled.
What's on the sideline? Like what is it? What's drawing?
Safety, not men trying to hit him. That's what's on the sideline. You can't get hit when you get into the white area. So he runs to it as fast as he possibly can.
You know what I've told you. Knowing the history of the Bucs special teams, especially punt returning, just catch the ball. That's all I ask at this point.
Why are my expectations so much higher?
Why should they be? They have one punt return in the history of their franchise.
Well, can we find a guy that actually tries to run up the middle?
Hey, in all respect, I think I saw Darden's I don't know the stats for this stuff, but he's like the 8th best punt returner this year in football.
Imagine what he would be if he actually
is punt returning that bad in the league.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, it's crazy. Anyway, so Darden is, and who else is on there for the Buccaneers? I mean, you got a lot of guys on there, but no.
Yeah, Brait was a full participation, but he's
that's
still,
good.
He's
Yeah,
still
coming back from concussion. Yeah, but you have to. That's part of the process.
Yeah, Perriman was.
I saw him in the locker room after the game, and a couple of guys were talking to him, and he's like, "I'm fine. I'll be fine this week."
Even Tua practiced yesterday, and he's still in the protocol. Perriman was a full participation.
Wow,
that's good to see. Still no participation from Logan Ryan.
Mm-hmm.
I think Donovan Smith's going to be limited probably for a lot of the season.
Yeah,
the one that's disappointing right now is Akeem Hicks. It sounds like the Bucs are really disappointed in the timeline. That's why they didn't put him on IR. They thought this was going to be a 4-week recovery. Doesn't look like we're here. We're getting him week 5 now, and I don't think he's even. I don't want to say he's not close, but he ain't on the timeline. And now it seems like it's maybe a little too late to put him on IR. So you just kind of have to let him ride out now, unless the cornerback situation gets a little bit crazy here, because I feel like everybody's getting injured every game now.
Yeah, how many? And Edwards has an elbow. He's wearing a brace.
Yep,
right.
Limited.
And Logan Ryan's still out with the foot. I doubt he plays this
Nassib
week.
did just an illness, so he'll be fine. But yeah, that's the whole. And Bunting also did not.
What's he dealing with?
Quad.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he could be out this week. Interesting to see Zion McCollum in there. Boy, I tell you what, he is so big for a corner.
He is so big and fast, and that kid, if he can really learn this game, his raw ability, and he catches the ball, he makes. I'm excited to see what that guy can bring. But it's Bucs Steelers this week, and as you mentioned, their defense is just atrocious. Kenny Pickett starting as a what is this, his second start now?
Yeah.
And he's obviously got some skills, but he's going to throw you a couple of picks.
It's hard to judge because last week was a tough spot. This is what the Steelers did not want. They
Exactly.
wanted Trubisky to be in there through this tough stretch.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, it was just so bad. Like Mike Tomlin's like, I can't do this anymore.
And this offensive line is just horrible. The Steelers, as proud of a franchise as they have been, as good a coach as a Mike Tomlin is, and that's why I've been saying all week, like this game scares me because the Steelers aren't this bad. They can't be this bad.
No, I think
what? They might be this bad. They just might be.
You take one player off their defense, TJ Watt, and the entire system blows up.
Yeah.
And then offensively, you know what the X factor is there? They can't run the ball.
Yeah.
Najee Harris looks like he's running with
their offensive line is horrible.
But he's not good. He's bad too.
Yeah.
I mean, he looks like he's running with a piano on his back. He doesn't hit. I think Leonard Fournette doesn't hit holes. Najee Harris does not hit anything.
And that's sometimes a problem when you've been running in college and there's gaping holes everywhere. You get to the NFL. Yeah. It's not
Alabama,
that way, bro. Yeah, this is not that way. I mean, every week in even in the SEC, you're going to have probably the best offensive line. You're going to have a decided advantage with your offensive line and holes and you get to the NFL, it's a different story, brother. It's a different story. So he's got to learn how to run when there is no hole. And there's he's
just not quick enough for it.
Yeah, and he's not. Yeah, I don't think so. So this to me, as I said last week, is a week for the Bucs to get right and finally put together a complete performance, offense, defense, and special teams, and go out and do what the Buffalo Bills did to the Steelers and make it a 38-3 game. Yep. But that's what needs to happen this week, because and it's like Brady talked about on his podcast. Confidence comes from evidence. Right? He said confidence without evidence is it's false confidence. It doesn't do you any good. Confidence comes from evidence, and that's doing it and executing it in practice time and time again, and then getting in the game and executing it. That's what makes you confident. That's what makes everybody confident that this guy's going to do his job, and this guy's going to do his job, and this guy's going to do his job. Brady goes back to pass, and he doesn't know if 67 is going to do his job or 29 is going to do his job, and you're kind of as you're looking downfield, you kind of got a side eye over here to see what's going to happen, and you can't have that. Brady has to be focused on his job, and he's not going to be focused on his job if he thinks that the other guys are doing their job. So that's why this is, the greatest team sport. You are as strong as your weakest link in football. And right now they've got some weak links on that offensive line and in other areas too. So they got to shore it up. And this is a good week to get that confidence going, to go out there and execute and get it going. They should be, there's no reason for them not to be 5-2. And the Steelers this week, the Panthers next week, and then they got the Ravens, and then you get into a tougher stretch again. But you got to come out of the first 7 games at 5-2. If you're a Super Bowl contender, there is no other option at this point.
And at that point, it almost seems like formulaic if they come out 5-2, because when we looked at the schedule, most Bucs fans would have said, yeah, they're going to be 5-2 after the first 7.
Right.
So I mean, in that point,
exactly.
It hasn't looked pretty. But they seem to be on schedule.
Right.
They're on that formula of what we thought they were going to be. You split the 2 and then you win the 3 after. Now, if you throw up a clunker, it's not going to happen. And I don't even know who's starting for Carolina at quarterback. So we'll get there when we get there. But I don't even know who's. I have no idea.
We don't even know who's coaching.
We don't even know. But the Steelers. I mean, the curse.
But
now the Bucs used to get ripped by rookie quarterbacks for a while there, as you know.
It was unbelievable.
They always beat the Bucs. I think that
they made them.
I like to think the curse of that is over. I like to think this is a get-right game for a few guys on that defense as well, because this offensive line is really bad. Like the Bucs are picking up sacks. They are. Been a group effort. I want to see Shaq Barrett get more involved. He's one guy that I haven't seen as involved as he needs to be.
Yeah.
I want to see Devin White. I mean, more controlled game, please, Devin. A bounce back from Levante David. Vita Vea, where are you? I think this is a great opportunity for him, because I think this has
been playing okay.
I think this is a layup game for Vita Vea to show everybody what he is, because he's going to have a great matchup, and again against a team that I don't think is going to have to be running that is not going to be running that much. I think the Bucs are going to take this game away from them early.
So, but now it's interesting. You look at the schedule before the season, and you make certain, you make certain predictions about what teams are going to be. Now we know what teams are, right, for the most part. So when you look at this, the Steelers, we saw at Pittsburgh. Okay, that's always going to be a tough game. Okay, they should blow them out. At the Panthers, should blow them out. The Ravens are just uneven. I mean, very talented, but this game is back home. It's a Thursday night game. So you get kind of the mini bye after that to play before you go to host the Rams. So
that game's not as daunting anymore.
No, the Rams game's not daunting at all. And I don't even think they'll have OBJ back by then, even if they get OBJ back, because I don't know if he's even healthy. So yeah, the Rams are in disarray, and you got them at home on a Sunday afternoon. Yeah. That looks very winnable. So say you drop the game to the Ravens. Okay, you're 5-3, but you should win that game too. The Ravens are. I mean, they're okay, but their defense is atrocious right now. It's terrible. You can control Lamar Jackson a little bit. I think they should win that game. So you're 6-2. The Rams, 7-2, or maybe say you lose one of those games, you're 6-3. The Seahawks,
they're a little bit of a tougher opponent now.
I mean, Geno has been fantastic.
It's in Germany.
Has been fantastic.
It's in Germany until the Bucs prove to me that they can play good overseas.
Yeah,
we'll see.
Those are all those bad temes went overseas. Yeah. So
and then they get the bye week, and then Cleveland, and I believe they don't have to face Deshaun.
Nope,
that's the last game of his suspension. So
I'd almost want to face Deshaun in his first game back, because I saw him in preseason. He was awful.
Yeah.
Then you got the Saints at home,
which is not as daunting anymore.
Yeah, then at the 49ers, that's going to be tough.
Yeah, the back half of it there gets a little.
And now the Bengals, what the hell's going on?
Well, they're
a
few plays away from being 5-0. Let's keep it in mind. There.
True,
they've had a tough schedule.
Yeah, true. But you got the Bengals at home. Then you're at the Cardinals, at Arizona. That may be a complete dumpster fire by then. 2
layups at the end.
And then you got Carolina and at Atlanta at the end. I mean, at this point, if you're not winning, a schedule that looked incredibly hard at the beginning of the season now looks a lot more manageable. Agreed?
Yeah, it does. I think we kind of said it. We didn't want to get too ahead of ourselves this past week because it wasn't a great performance. It still was a win.
Yeah.
And I mean, you look at the schedule there, you could poke holes in all these opponents the Bucs are playing. Other than San Francisco, I think San Francisco is the toughest team on that schedule, because I think San Francisco is a Super Bowl team.
I do too.
But all of a sudden, you look at like the victories the Bucs have had. I know it was week 1, but tell me that Dallas victory don't look impressive.
It looks really good, and they.
I mean,
that should have been a blowout.
And
too.
And the thing is, the Bucs moved the ball in that game.
Yeah, they did.
They couldn't execute in the red zone.
Right.
Nobody else was moving the ball in that Dallas defense.
That's true.
The Bucs were able to do that. Yep. So I look at that game a little bit more differently now, because that's a really good win.
Yeah.
We all agree that for whatever the performance was against Green Bay, if Mike Evans plays in that game, you are winning that game.
It's a dub. And then the Chiefs game was, hurricane. Plus the Chiefs, were so hyped for that game. They circled it.
Yeah, it was just a bad night.
Yeah, I mean, do I have a bad taste in my mouth about the second half? Absolutely. And that's because I think this team can be so much better. All right, we're going to have Kasey Hudson coming on from Pewter Report. Also covers the Bolts as well. So we'll talk some hockey and football with her. So I want to get into a little bit of Rays talk here. As we mentioned earlier, the Major League Baseball, not the Rays, sent out a survey to all Rays fans. I guess that they probably got the email list from the Rays, which is very interesting. Like, it just really raises an eyebrow. Why did this not come from the Rays? And I did a podcast last night for a young up and coming podcaster, Brett Groves, who's he's got a really nice following of Rays fans, and we talked extensively about the stadium and where the situation is right now and kind of the history of where it's at. And I'm a firm believer that, and I have been for a while, that MLB will not allow a stadium to be built in St. Petersburg. And I think MLB now, what this signals to me is MLB is kind of done talking with Stu. I'm not done, but I think they've finally figured out that he is the impediment. And they need to get their own information and really feel out what's going on with this fan base instead of just listening to Stu Sternberg. And I think this is a tremendously positive development in the stadium situation, because this is what we have been talking about for so long, that Stu is the problem. It's not Tampa. It's not the officials in Tampa. It's not the officials in St. Petersburg. It's not the fans. Stu Sternberg is the problem. And I think that Major League Baseball has finally come to that decision. And now they're going around him to go to the fans directly and find out what you guys want. So let's pull that survey up, if you will. And I just in the beginning of it, what they're asking, I think, is very, very interesting. Here it is. It says from Major League Baseball, and it has their letterhead on it, not the Rays. It says, thank you for support of Major League Baseball during another memorable regular season and exciting postseason. You are invited to participate in a survey assessing the potential of a new ballpark in the Tampa Bay area. A new state-of-the-art ballpark can transform the game day experience for fans and serve as a year-round destination that includes ancillary retail, restaurant, entertainment, residential, office, and recreation space. Where have we heard that before? A new ballpark in Tampa Bay would likely offer bullet points: roof covering and climate-controlled environment, right-size capacity to create an intimate game day experience, a wider variety of seat offerings located closer to the field and with prime sight lines. All of these things much different than Tropicana Field. Wider concourses and ample restrooms and concession points of sale. State-of-the-art video, sound, and mobile technology. These are all things that Tropicana Field is not, by the way. And this is what you get with a new stadium, folks. So for all of you Tropicana Field lovers, feedback from our great fans is vital to this process. To this end, we have engaged a third-party company to conduct a survey to assist us in evaluating feedback related to ballpark location and amenities. Please click on the link below to access the survey. All concepts and ideas are hypothetical and for research purposes only. How interesting is that? Obviously, what Major League Baseball sees is the same thing that I've been talking about, that we've been talking about here on the show for a long, long time, with what we've seen in Atlanta, what we've seen in Texas, what we've seen all over Major League Baseball, and what is the future of stadium building. It's public-private partnerships. They're doing it in Miami with a soccer stadium. They're doing it all over the United States. And there is no place, I would argue, that is more prime for that than the Tampa Bay area. You have an established team in the Tampa Bay Rays that has a huge fan base here. Despite what the attendance is, the TV numbers, all the other numbers that you look at, they have a huge established fan base here. You have a growing market that's one of the largest in America, arguably one of the largest in the world. You have not only the 11th largest market of Tampa Bay, but you also have the 18th largest market in Orlando. And as you move the team closer to Orlando, and you have a bright line train coming into Tampa, and in 10 years, Tampa and Orlando are going to be essentially the same city, much like you can go from Biscayne Bay and South Miami all the way up to Jupiter now, and it's one big megatropolis, whatever you want to call it. It's going to be the same thing with Orlando and Tampa. And if I were the Rays owners, I would, if you want to do a sister city, Orlando is my sister city. And I play 2 series a year at the Disney ballpark in May, and then invite, and you start with that and get all those people in Orlando excited about baseball, get on the Rays train and come to Rays games all year long. And you start marketing to this 18th largest market. And within an hour's distance, you've got almost 6 to 7 million people that would be within an hour's travel of Tropicana Field. I mean, it's a freaking no-brainer. This is where all the development is happening. If you drive I-4 or drive the ancillary roads north of I-4 between Orlando and Tampa, there is more dirt cleared for more homes than I think I've ever seen in my life. It's exploding in population. And most of these people are moving from the north. They're older people moving from the north. You know what those people do? They go to baseball games. They love the game of baseball. They come from New York, Boston, all these northern towns that have baseball, and they've grown up with baseball. So this is an absolute no-brainer on so many levels. Any owner, any businessman would love to have a baseball team to be able to move into this area and build a battery and stadium like they did in Atlanta. So it's a no-brainer. Without Stu Sternberg, this deal would be done. So I think Major League Baseball is finally realizing what they have here, and they're going to push it themselves. And I think this survey is going to be very illuminating to them.
I sure hope so. I mean, we know Manfred and
Why are you looking at me so crazy when I'm talking about Orlando and the Rays?
Well, Is Orlando? We really need to go to Orlando to expand?
No, it's just part of the process.
I guess if
you don't need it at all. No, you don't. But it's part of the process.
When I think of Orlando, I don't think baseball.
Yeah, because they've never been marketed to.
I just don't think the people are baseball.
Well, then why did they come over here and say we want to? Pat Williams we want to build a stadium.
And where did that go? Nobody in Orlando cared.
Yeah, exactly. But I think it's a market that's worth. I'm not saying that's where you put all your marketing dollars. It's just it's a small piece of the puzzle.
Sure, I have told you though, there are people in Orlando that I knew that said, yeah, I'd love to get to a Rays game, but man, it's like one thing going to Tampa, it's another having to go.
Hell yeah!
I mean, I understand that one. I've mentioned it before.
And plus the Bright Line.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a big deal.
That would help.
And by the way, the Bright Line is not going to stop at the Hard Rock. There's not going to be a stop there.
Yeah.
Or the fairgrounds.
I did have the survey up here. I got it on the stream here.
Okay.
If you wanted to go through it.
Yeah, let's go through it real quick. We got Kasey coming up here.
Yeah, we got
10:30.
We got 5 minutes here, so it should be good. I've skipped to the good stuff. This is please specify the average length of your commute to attend a Rays game on weekdays and weekends.
Okay.
So
they'll find out that most of the people are, has to take an hour,
right here,
hour and a half.
over 1 hour.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Same thing for the weekend for myself.
Yeah. So they'll find out the majority of Rays fans that they're talking to that buy tickets, it's an hour. Yeah.
Overall, how has your annual attendance at Rays games been affected in the past 5 to 10 years? I attend more home games now than I did in the past. I attend about the same number of home games, or I attend fewer home games.
Fewer home games.
I'm in the fewer category.
Yeah. Yeah. I hope there's a question about the owner.
Don't get too excited there.
Yeah. There should be.
Why
you want to know?
All right. They got here. They have all the bullet points of what they're looking for.
Right.
That we just described. And it says, overall, how would you describe your attitude towards the development of a new state-of-the-art ballpark for Rays in each potential location? Area near downtown St. Petersburg. You can pick very positive, somewhat positive, neutral, somewhat negative, very negative.
Very negative. Very negative. Is there an extremely negative?
No. Very negative is as negative as you're going to
No
get.
freaking chance. Is that an option?
Oh, you can
write
you
down
can
there.
you can write down in there your thoughts.
We'll do that.
Area near downtown Tampa. Very positive.
Very positive.
Okay.
Yes.
We'll leave this blank for now.
Yeah.
How would the construction of a new state-of-the-art ballpark in each potential location impact your interest in attending new Rays game on an annual basis? If it's down St. Pete, would you attend more, the same, fewer, or not any?
If it's downtown St. Pete?
Yes. If they put
a new one, specific question.
They put a new one in St. Pete.
So absolutely no.
I guess it would be the same because I'll still go to games, but I'm not going to go to as many as I would.
No.
I guess I'm just going to say the attendance amount the same.
No, but then you're basically telling them it doesn't matter whether you build it in St. Pete or Tampa.
This is my survey.
So you don't care whether they build it in St. Pete or Tampa? You don't want it in Tampa?
Yes, I do.
Then why would you put that?
Huh?
Then why would you put that answer? Why would it be the same if it's in Tampa? You're not going to more games.
Logically speaking, if I'm going to
people, if you're taking the survey, don't do what he's doing. This is stupid. This is exactly what you don't do because then they're going to say, "Oh, well, then we could build it in St. Pete."
All right.
But I'm asking you the question: would you not go to more games in Tampa? That's what they're asking you.
Yes.
Then why would you put that answer?
Because I'd probably attend the same amount I'm attending now, which is
if
not
it was
that.
in Tampa?
If it was in St. Pete, if it's not that, because this is asking if they built a new one in St. Pete, how would it affect your attendance? And I'm saying if they built a new one in St. Pete, well, I would still go to the same amount I'm going to now, which is not that many.
Yeah, that's not what they're asking.
That's my brain working overtime.
No, that's not what
Fewer
they're asking.
home games.
Yes.
Area down in Tampa, more home games annually.
Yeah.
There you go.
There you go. Yeah.
There you go. Please specify the total number of home games you envision on attending if it was at each potential location. In St. Pete, see, I'm just going to put a 3.
3.
In St. Pete.
Okay. And
Tampa? I could
81.
probably 81. I don't care where you're playing the damn thing. I am not going to 81 baseball games.
I would say my answer would be
I put 15.
I would say 30.
For you?
Yeah, 30 to 40.
Well, let's do it so it looks good on our survey here.
Yeah, I'd say 30. No question. I'd be there all the time. Wow, that's a lot. That's a lot of pictures and stuff. This is a very serious survey.
I know, and they have real world examples here of things. They have berm seating, party deck seating, ballpark seating, like bleachers, standard chairback, ledge seats, club seats, ledge tables, lodge box, social suites, luxury suites, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
And examples.
Hey, folks, You can have all this.
We don't have any of that.
We don't have any.
No.
We don't have any of it.
No. Now here it is: 1 to 7 of appealing, not appealing, and very appealing from each one of those things.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry. We'll go through all that. All right. Next question. We can come back and go through all that. What's the next question?
I'm just going to put very appealing because we have to.
To get to the next question, you got to answer. Okay. Gotcha.
Select type of ticket package you would most be interested in purchasing at a new ballpark in each location.
I would like to do like the
single game tickets for St. Pete.
Yeah.
As far as that goes.
Yeah. And for Tampa, I would like to get some type of package deal, like a half season.
Yeah, they got a partial ticket package, 20 to 40 games.
Yeah. Yeah.
With that.
Or I would even do like like the all inclusive, where you can go to, a subscription, $50 a month, where you go to as many games as you want. That's what I would do. And you could just go in, and it's kind of like an annual pass to Disney. Yeah. All right, we'll have to take a break, and we'll do the rest of this in the 11 o'clock hour. We're going to take a quick break here, and Kasey Hudson's going to join us next from Pewter Report. Also covers the Bolts as well. So we will chat with her about all things Bucs and Bolts. We are brought to you by Emerging Investigations, emerginginv.com, Tampa Bay's #1 private investigation agency. If you need any PI work done, they are the folks to go to. You can find them at emerginginv.com. And by the Jeeves Law Group, Jeeves, JeevesLawGroup.com. Scott Jeeves, he is just different. Check him out at JeevesLawGroup.com. Kasey Hudson, Pewter Report, coming up next. Stay with us.
Attention, if you are home shopping or looking for a refinance, and even if you already have the approval letter, you must call my man Scott Fitzgerald at American Mortgage Services. Scott has a brand new program available in the greater Tampa Bay area called the Community Advantage Loan Program. Get this, no money down, no mortgage insurance, no points, no origination fee, purchase or refinance, and loan amounts up to $647,000. Now, there are some application requirements. It must be a single-family home, 1 unit, primary residence, and have a minimum 640 credit score. The program only applies to certain neighborhoods, so you have to call to find out if you qualify. So call Scott Fitzgerald at 813-294-7595 or email him at scott@amstampa.com. Now, even if you don't qualify for that program, Scott will shop your loan around, get you the best rates, and won't charge you the huge upfront fees. And if you've had issues with your bank calling you back, Scott will return calls immediately, or at least the same day. 813-294-7595 or email him, scott@amstampa.com. Scott Fitzgerald, MLS 386722, American Mortgage Services, 1000 North Ashley Drive, Suite 1020, Tampa, Florida. JP here for Emerging Investigations, Tampa Bay's premier investigation agency. Do you suspect your spouse is cheating or involved in a divorce, that your spouse is hiding money, an ex-employee or current employee with suspicious behavior? Is there a criminal matter you need help with? If you need information you can count on, using the professionals at Emerging Investigations is a slam dunk. Emerging Investigations is a licensed and insured private investigation agency, family-owned. Emerging is your ideal resource to secure evidence and validation, allowing you to make informed decisions in life's biggest matters. Led by industry executive Brian D'Antonio, Emerging possesses the experience and resources to get needed results. Emerging Investigations maintains an excellent reputation as a premier investigation agency. They are known for results. You're not just hiring a PI, but an organized, dedicated team using state-of-the-art technology. Their proven investigative methods produce crucial information used in criminal cases, insurance fraud, and personal injury claims. Many local attorneys, industry agencies, and your concerned neighbors all count on Emerging Investigations. Just go to their website, emerginginv.com, or call 813-291-FACT. That's 813-291-FACT-3228. Get results you can trust in life's biggest matters. Emerging Investigations. Now is the time to make sure your home insurance is in order. In the last year, many of us have made improvements to our homes. So call the folks at Italiano and discuss these upgrades to make sure you have enough coverage. According to a recent report, almost 64% of homeowners don't have enough insurance on their home, which is their most valuable asset. Also, a great time to make sure you have flood insurance. Even if your mortgage company does not require flood insurance, your home could still be at flood risk. Another big item as we enter hurricane season is making sure your pool enclosure is added to your policy and there will be no issue at claim time. That happens a lot. So call your friendly agent at Italiano Insurance to review your policies today. 813-877-7799 or ItalianoInsurance.com.
Let's go. Right now, back to the show with JP on FanStream Sports.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show, brought to you by Emerging Investigations. If you have a problem with your spouse, or maybe you're involved in a divorce, need some investigation work done, or insurance fraud is part of the work you do, if you're an attorney, the folks at Emerging Investigations do a fantastic job with all that. Many attorneys and insurance agencies trust them to do those important investigations. And if you have some questions about your personal life that you need answered, about a spouse, I would say do not take those matters into your own hands. Hire the professionals to find out the information that you can trust to make life's biggest decisions. It's Emerging Investigations. EmergingINV.com is their website. Just give them a call. It's a free call. They'll walk you through the whole process. You can tell them what you need, what you're thinking about, whether you need their services or not. They'll be happy to have that discussion with you, take you through the whole process. Very friendly people there, Rachel and David. Just give them a call, and they will they'll tell you what it's all about. Emerging Investigations, EmergingINV.com. All right, we want to bring in the lovely and talented Kasey Hudson from the Report. I don't say that about Scott.
You don't call him lovely?
I call him talented, but very handsome man, though. The new mullet he's rocking is spectacular. I will say that.
So many points for the mullet. I constantly remind him how much that's a winner.
He needs to go a little shorter on the sides, though, to get the full mullet.
I think he's a little nervous to commit. Yeah, for sure. I mean, but a real mullet, that's a commitment. I think he's a little nervous, but I think he needs to try it right before, like, maybe cutting the hair.
I would love to see it. I mean, just go full Joe Dirt, Tiger King, do the whole thing.
I would love it. My dad has a mullet. He purposely goes to get his hair cut and still does a mullet on purpose my entire life.
That's spectacular.
30 years old. Yeah, he has no shame. Mullet and karate kicks. He's a weird guy.
See, well, that's where you get your lovely confidence from. See, that's great. You got to, that guy's out there. You got to love that. You got to whatever
that
you're
makes
running,
sense.
if you can do it and you're different, I have much respect.
Yeah.
Be true to yourself, right?
Yeah, I surprise people all the time. You would never guess some of the antics that my dad pulls, and then you see the weird stuff that I do, and you're like, yeah, it makes sense.
That's great. You know,
he's still living in the past. We love it though.
Yeah.
I was groomed on good music and weird vibes, so that's what I'm.
Sound a lot like my daughter, actually. She would say very much the same things that you're saying. So what would be if you made a dad's playlist like my daughter made for me for Christmas that I listen to all the time? So if you made a dad's playlist, what would be on it?
Okay, for starters, people don't really see it, but I have a Rolling Stones tattoo.
Nice.
And that's my dad's nickname for me. So Stones is a big thing for us. Wild Horses, Gimme Shelter is our favorite song. If you want to see two people just like awkwardly dance around a living room, put on Gimme Shelter. I'm trying to think of the other ones that he was big on. Wheel in the Sky by Journey is a big one.
Great song. Lights by Journey. He probably likes that whole album there. Yeah.
Oh yeah. The Kooks we've listened to a lot of together. The Doors, The Who.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's always kind of been Rolling Stones. He has some Beatle things that he'll send to me as a cute little father-daughter thing, but
is he a Boston
it's
fan?
Rolling Stones. No, he lives in LA.
I mean Boston, the group.
Oh, yeah. More Than a Feeling.
Queen. Probably a lot of Queen. Probably loves it. I love your dad. We need to get him on the show.
You guys
all right,
have a hoot.
Yeah, let's talk a little Buccaneers. Get you both on the show. That would be even better. Let's talk a little Buccaneers here. And when I had Scott on, I took a little umbrage with y'all's podcast. I thought you were a little easy on the guys for the Falcons win. I thought it was a very disappointing second half performance of the team that I expect to be a Super Bowl contender. And then Devin White comes out and said they're bored. You can't be bored, bro. You can't be bored. You got to step on their neck. As much as I love Devin, come on now. If you're a leader of this team, I don't want to hear that.
Absolutely. Well, I was talking about this a lot yesterday, and to be honest, Devin White, I think people don't realize how young he still actually is. So I think he just still kind of makes a lot of those youthful mistakes. I think it was a poor choice of words, obviously, for one. You got Antoine Winfield Jr. in the locker room saying that he's just happy to be there and he loves football and he has so much fun. And then you've got one of your leaders on the team being like, well, we just got bored and that's really it. I think bored was a terrible choice of words. And regardless, for you guys to be what I was calling a top tier defense in the NFC a couple weeks ago, you have no business getting bored. That's where you really could have, punished the Falcons for thinking that they had a chance on your home territory. So definitely don't agree with the comments, but knowing Devin White, sometimes he just kind of does these wayward things when he's being, I think it's his way of being inwardly defensive, if you will.
It was honest. I appreciate the honesty.
Yeah, and maybe it wasn't even honesty, because the reality of it is, as much as the defense was on the field because the offense had so many 3 and outs, maybe they got tired and he didn't want to say, shit, we started to get fatigued there and we didn't show up in the fourth quarter. That's a more respectable answer. So I think between his age and maybe some pride there, he just poor choice of words. But I agree with you. They had no business giving up the points that they did in the fourth quarter. And that's scary, because even though they're going to face a Steelers team that has some, there's nothing flashy about them or appealing. Last year, John Ledyard and I did a game preview for the Washington Commanders, and we sat there basically being like, we could think of no reason why this Bucs team could lose, and then they go in and freaking lose to Washington. Right. And that's something that could be relevant this weekend.
No, it's a great point you make, because you look at the Steelers and they are a dumpster fire right now. But they're also a very proud franchise. And I know Mike Tomlin personally. I've known him for a long time. And I can tell you that he will not stand for this type of performance from his team. Even if they're not talented, he'll find a way to make them competitive. He always has, and the Steelers franchise, and I think they always will. So as much as I want to say the same thing, that you guys said against the Commanders, we all said that about Washington last year.
Oh my gosh.
This is the NFL, and we see it every week. The Chiefs lose to the Colts, then they come back and whoop our ass. And that's the way this league goes. And so if you're just sitting there saying this is going to be a rout of the Steelers, which I think it should be, I always say it's the week-to-week NFL. You never know, right?
Oh, 100%. And Antoine Winfield Jr. even said in his most recent little interview, it's the NFL every single week. You've got to have your head on right and treat every team as if they're going to bring something to you. And Joe Tryon-Shanka is over here like, don't underestimate Kenny Pickett, because a rookie quarterback, they're desperate to make a case that they belong in that pocket and that should be their starting position. So there's just a lot of desperation here. And it was cool because one of the guys that I work with on another show, Grant Paulson, he kind of made a case as to how those, depending on a couple weeks into the season, how desperate that team is, those upsets happen. And I think it was like week 4 that all of these upsets just started coming out. And it's because of these desperate teams that have no wins on the board or one win on the board. And the one contest that they had that was still a dumpster fire to watch, but, pull it off, is this whole situation versus the Bengals. So, the Bucs are too inconsistent on offense, still trying to figure out their rhythm there. And then you've got this defense that chooses when to show up, if you will, not to be, pointed about it, but it's true. So you have 2 very inconsistent situations going into a desperate place, and that could be scary if they don't come in and play 4 quarters of football, which seems so obvious, but it's irritating that it's not happening.
Yeah, they've not put together a complete game yet this year, and we're 5 games in, and they've played good teams, they've played bad teams, and they just haven't been able to put it all together. What do you think are the main reasons for that inconsistency?
Oh gosh. Well, offensively, I feel like the run game, they need to have a more hearty conversation about what that's supposed to look like. I'm a big fan of some things that Lenny's done. Obviously, as a hockey head, I love contact. So when Leonard Fournette lowers the shoulder and makes a play, that's exciting. But when you hand the ball off to Lenny 2, 3, 4 times in a row, and you do this predictable thing where a team is going to game plan for you to go to your best players. So either take the time to start grooming Rachaad White, even though he had that fumble situation that got him off to a bad start versus the Chiefs. You have to kind of realize that you're at this weird place where you've got veteran presence, but most of your vets aren't very healthy. And then you've got these rookie guys or these young guys that you have to start grooming. So I need them to find the balance there and utilizing these guys. So I said it yesterday on Loose Cannons and he hated it, but whatever. A more balanced attack is what I'm looking for, or, a little bit more experimentation or creative offensive plays here. You've seen some really good things out of Cade Otton. If you're going to groom him to be your tight end 1, Put him in there. There's been no action over the middle of the field. They've been getting destroyed over there. And that was somewhere where Gronk and some of your top wide receivers really controlled, the offensive drives. You've got to start giving those chances and seeing where they go before you just don't try it and you continue to run the ball over and over again. If Rachaad White has better vision, start balancing out when you hand it to Rachaad White or when you hand it to Lenny. I mean, this kid in his last year of college had over 1,000 receiving yards. Why wouldn't you start grooming him to be that piece? People can only game plan for him so much because there's not much NFL tape on him. So I think it's just really lacked creativity offensively. And there's, of course, two sides to the coin. People calling for Leftwich's head, other people saying give him a chance to really get his OC hat on. I'm just over here bored with the offense. You have one of the most talented rosters in the league, regardless of injuries, and yet it feels like nothing exciting is happening.
I'd agree with that.
Yeah, and I think the lack of verticalness in this offense, I guess, if you could say. And, I look at it, though, it's Mike Evans, he can get vertical, but I don't think that's the role they really want him. Chris Godwin's never been a true vertical guy, right? And then Russell Gage, I think this hamstring thing is going to hamper him for the entire year. And he's lacked explosiveness. And then Julio, we have no idea if he's going to play from a week-to-week basis. But the good thing we saw this past game was they got Cade Otton involved a little bit. And he ain't Gronk. We know that. He doesn't have to be Gronk. But talk a little bit about what he could add to this offense if they try to get him more involved here.
Oh, man. And
look like.
I'm so quick to admit when I'm wrong. I promise that's something people will learn about me. I wasn't high on this kid in the draft. Another part of it is that he was coming off of an injury, and you never know how people are going to translate, in the healing process. But I think for especially a rookie, he has a really good balance in terms of his blocking ability to his catching ability. And I saw a lot of maturity to him and a lot of focus to him in training camp. And I think that you can rely and start grooming on this kid early. So having a young tight end that can do that, I feel like they need to get him involved more. We saw some good some catches out of him on Sunday. We saw some good chemistry start brewing between him and Brady, because in some of those tight moments, who did he go to? Cade Otton, regardless of one or two drops that the kid had. And we're also talking about a kid who missed a game and some practices. So imagine somebody who's constantly been there or gets to, week by week, get in the book more, get more time with Brady. He's already shown that he's capable of excelling when he has time with Tom and the ball. What I also like about him, and I'm a psycho for tight ends. I just love what they do. I appreciate their athleticism. I'm very, very disappointed that hybrid tight ends ever started to become a thing in the NFL. And that's a whole nother conversation for another day. But I like the fact that he can be a true tight end. And you said it perfectly, Nick. You don't need a Gronk. You can groom a Cade Otton to be everything you need as a weapon in that system. And then I'm also the psychopath that's over here give O'Keefe the ball in the red zone and make magic happen. So
what?
Amen.
O'Keefe?
Amen.
Yes.
6'2", 6'1"?
I don't care. I do not
care.
Red
zone target. Come on, he's got to be ninth on the list as far as red zone target.
JP, let me love coaching hat, and I promise you, O'Keefe will go for a great catch in the red zone.
First of all, I don't know why teams don't run this play every freaking time in the red zone. You've set up a blocking tight end on the right side, and you have him block down and run under and go to the left side and roll to the right and throw it back. Have you ever seen that play not work? Ever.
And how good is O'Keefe at blocking?
Every single time.
How good is O'Keefe at blocking? How much work does he put in so that they can finally get some grungy yards in?
Nobody would pay attention to him if he was lined up on the right. That's a run formation. Whoever's supposed to be guarding him in the pass formation, whatever, he's not going out. You just leak him out. It's the easiest play in the world. But when you talk about creativity, that's what I'm talking about. Why don't we run that play in the red zone? Why don't we run jet sweeps like we ran in week 1 against Dallas with so much success, which opened up the rest of the running game? We were running counter trays and pulling 2 guards at the same time and running all this creativity we had in the run game was our best run game. Where has it been for the last few weeks? Did we lose that play sheet? What happened? I don't know.
They're treating it like it didn't work. That's the part that's mind-blowing to me. It's as if we failed or they failed and they threw that away. Because you just saw, or I don't even want to call it oversimplification, but I don't know what the playbook's been the last 2 weeks. It's just not it and not exciting. You have all of these players. And even when they started to get back some, key players, if you will, and they were on snap counts because they're not entirely healthy, I think that that's even just kind of a thorn in their side, because if a guy's barely healthy and you can only put him out there for certain counts, then if he's your yak guy, use him on third down. Why would you use him on a second down play and then take him out because you're resting whatever body part is hurting him that you're not disclosing, and then bring in Leonard Fournette to hand off the ball once again? Like, that's the crap that frustrates me. Use your guys that can get the job done on those third downs. At least commit to that so you can finally get down the field. But I don't have any confidence in the fact that Leonard Fournette's the only 2 touchdowns versus the freaking Falcons on Sunday. And then you're going to go to the Steelers who, again, desperate, trying to make a case. Wallace, Fitzpatrick, they're going to try to lock down these guys as much as possible. They don't have the biggest pass rush game in comparison to what the Bucs have faced throughout the first 5 weeks. But still, what are you going to do? Go in there and hand the ball to Leonard Fournette again? Or are you going to use this game to start grooming Rachaad White and Kate Otton?
And what about on 3rd and 1s, 4th and 1s at the goal line? Where's the Tom Brady sneak?
Yeah.
Where's the Tom Brady sneak?
Have we seen it yet?
We have not seen one Tom Brady sneak.
No, because we don't want to get him hurt. He's got a bad hand and a bad shoulder.
Oh yeah, I forgot. You can't touch somebody who's 45 years old.
One play is gonna be the end of his season, and it's a quarterback sneak. It's hard to. I mean, you don't have to get too technical on it, but you don't have to.
But we let him run 40 yards.
Yeah, well,
we let him go for a 40-yard sprint. Run, Forrest, run, and then you got to protect him.
It's a little crazy.
I mean, they're letting him stand behind Luke Gedeke against 3 or 4 of the best defensive tackles in football. But we can't have him do a quarterback sneak when both sides of the A and B gap are wide open. I don't get paid to say these things, but like Byron Leftwich does. But
I think they could use a couple consultants.
Yeah. So there was I have to ask you, there was a moment in the press conference yesterday I thought was very interesting and important. And when Todd Bowles was asked about his relationship with, do you have that soundbite? So we're going to play it for you. Hopefully you can hear it. And I don't know if you were there or not.
No, I wasn't.
But he was asked about his relationship with Mike Tomlin as the 2 black coaches in the league.
Okay.
And I thought it was very interesting. Let's play it.
You and Mike Tomlin are 2 of the few black head coaches in the league. I wonder what your relationship is like with them and your thoughts on Steve Wilks joining that role.
I have a very good relationship with Tomlin. We don't look at what color we are when we coach against each other. We just know each other. I have a lot of very good white friends that coach in this league as well, and I don't think it's a big deal as far as us coaching against each other. I think it's normal. Wilks got an opportunity to do a good job. Hopefully he does it. And we coach ball. We don't look at color.
But you also understand that representation matters too.
Did you hear that, Kasey?
Yeah, I heard it.
My headphones are not.
They see someone that looks like them.
And the follow-up question.
Well, when you say you see you guys and look like them and grow up like them, means that we're oddballs to begin with. And I think the minute you guys stop making a big deal about it, everybody else will as well.
I don't think I've ever heard a coach say that, and I was very glad to hear it, because it's my personal opinion that we put too many labels on everybody. And I think it creates such division in our country. Everybody has to be labeled as this, that, or the other. And which what I find like ridiculous. A part of it is, Russell Wilson is a black quarterback. Mike McDaniel is a minority head coach. I mean, I look at their skin color. I'm like, well, I don't know. What do we have to have a pigment analysis? Like, is he a man of color or is he not? And if he is a man of color, we put him in this box or we put him in this box. What exactly pigment? I mean, it's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard of. And I'm glad that finally Todd Bowles said, you say you guys, and it's, it's usually reporters asking them and trying to put them in a box. And I'm glad he said, I don't want to be put in a box. I'm just a coach.
Right.
What's wrong with that? I thought it was great. What about your thoughts?
Oh my gosh. Well, first of all, I could tell you how much Todd Bowles hates that question. And sometimes I sit in the press room and just cringe, because I'm a body language person when it comes to questions. If I've heard somebody answer a question a particular way before, I'm probably not going to ask it, especially if I want to establish a relationship and get better answers down the line. Todd Bowles has mentioned it before, especially when he stepped into that head coaching position. He does not look at color. I can tell you, obviously, somebody with a bit of a tan, it's kind of stupid when people say, well, what is it like? And and as you mentioned, JP, once you start putting that context on it, it's kind of all people see. So
Right.
for instance, not everybody wants to be looked at as, well, you got to this position, and as a brown person, what's that like? It's like, that's taking away from my skill set. It's taking away from the work that I put in, the studying that I've done, the hours that I have tiresomely pushed through. And so, two brown head coaches, who gives a crap? You've got two talented guys. Mike Tomlin's one of the most respected coaches in the league. Todd Bowles is trying to redeem himself for the Jets situation that people give him a hard time about when he was trying to rebuild a dumpster fire team. And now he's back in a head coaching position, trying to make the most of it. And when you put color on it, you just start taking away from the fact that these guys have put in X amount of time, X amount of work, X amount of skill set, what's really going on in their mind, because it's almost like, it feels like a handicap sometimes, you know?
Yeah.
And it just kind of, and it sucks, because even as a head coach or guys that get in these great positions, it somewhat makes them feel inadequate, because the worst thing that you can do is get into a position and be like, all right, am I just here for the minority count, or am I here because I'm really good at what I do?
And I think that's why when you ask coaches about the Rooney Rule, they hate it. They hate it. And I understand that it's good intentions, a lot of good intentions.
Yeah.
The actual results aren't quite what you would hope for. All right, before you go, I want to talk some Bolts with you, because you cover the Bolts as well.
I do.
And we got one game to go on. I'm not pushing the panic button, but for me, it wasn't the best representation of what we're going to see. Hopefully, moving forward, the special teams were anything but special. Yeah, it was not a great start. Not a great start. Your thoughts?
Oh, well, you kind of took the words out of my mouth. I know, looking at the game initially, some people, and I was seeing it on Twitter, and I get it. 4 penalties is still too much, but some people were like, oh my God, all these penalties. But the reality of it is that the Rangers had 6 penalties to the Bolts 4 penalties. So they had 6 power play opportunities and capitalized on 1. So it just goes right back to what you said. Special teams. This was an issue, honestly, last season. And I've been saying it for years. I know it's annoying. A lot of people don't agree, but you cannot. I know hockey, you have your key guys and everybody knows their role, but it cannot be the Stammer, Cooch, and Point show for power play, especially when this team is developing year by year and getting new faces on this roster. There kind of has to be at least 1 or 2 other guys that can step up on that power play. It cannot heavily just rely on Stammer getting open for the one-timer, or else they're going to put their backs against the wall consistently. So yeah, special teams, it was tough to watch. And I got a chance to talk to Braden Point about it last week, Saturday, after the preseason game. And he was already fully aware of the fact that they have to go into this season executing way better with special teams. It was good to see that the penalty kill functioned well in the first 2 periods, especially the first one, without Eric Chernak, who's a huge key part of that penalty kill. So you did see some good things. I know they're trying to get these new guys to gel. I feel like we're going to see some good things out of Hayden Fleury. I like his vision in front of the net and his puck handling skills. He really does focus on pushing the puck up rather than just clearing it. And with the skilled guys that you have, depending on what line's in, I think that they could really utilize that. But some good things, some bad things. I'm not hitting the panic button quite yet. A big thing that I would love to see, and I think we saw a little bit more of it, is that this was one of the best forechecking teams 2 years ago that started to kind of fall off a little bit this past season, but it feels like Brandon Hagel is really starting to step into his own there. He was real chippy. He's starting to get a lot more defensive minded, even though he was a scorer with Chicago. So if he can find that 2-way balance and be as equally defensive as he can contribute on the score, or at least assist, that can be a dangerous situation. And we're talking about somebody who's starting to step up without Anthony Sorellian, who is that dominant, 2-way player. And that's kind of where you feel the loss of Palat. But if Hagel continues to develop, I don't think they're going to feel the sting of Palat being gone as much. The chemistry was a big thing there. You'd see passes happen and you'd be like, how did he even know that guy was there? That's chemistry. That's, bond. That's years. But they can get close enough if Hagel continues to develop in the role that it seems that they've put him in.
Good stuff, Kasey Hudson. You know your hockey, you know your football, and your dad pretty well too. So that's you know your music. So we'll give you that as well. Thanks so much for joining us. Tell everybody where they can find your content. I know you're doing a ton of different things, so catch us up.
So much. At the Sports Case, KASE is typically the best way to go across all social platforms. I have 2 shows with Odyssey now. Odyssey Sports is the underhead there. So Jolly Rogers and Touchdowns with Kaylee Mizell is where we kind of do our little deep dive, as well as entertaining takes on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And then yesterday was show 1 of Pucks and Bolts. So we get to talk hockey, which is cool because that's how Kaylee and I met. So we have both shows together with Odyssey under Odyssey Sports. So you can check out Pucks and Bolts and Jolly Rogers and Touchdowns. We've got both shows running about 3 times a week. And then on the Sunday spread on BetQL Network, I get to chat with Alex Gold and Grant Paulson about your best bets heading into Sunday. So yeah, a lot of fun projects.
You got any best bets this week?
Absolutely. Take the over on the Steelers Bucs games. It's at 43.5 and the over is looking really good right now. Player prop bets I'll put up probably Saturday.
Okay, we'll retweet that. Over on Steelers Bucks. What's it at 43?
43.5.
So the Bucks are going to score 44?
Yeah.
The Steelers, I don't think are going to score very much. They shouldn't score very much is what I'm saying. So we shall see. All right, Kasey, great stuff. Thanks so much for your time. Appreciate it. We'll talk to you down the line.
You guys.
Thanks. All right, we'll take a break here. And when we come back, Scott Carter is going to join us for the Jeeves Law Group Gator Report. We love that. Big game coming up this weekend against LSU in the Swamp, and it's Tom Petty night at the Swamp. I got a lot of Gator friends that are going to the big game. That should be fun. So we'll talk to Scott Carter from FloridaGators.com. It's our Jeeves Law Group Gator Report coming up next. Stay with us. JP here for the Jeeves Law Group. I've known Scott Jeeves for quite some time, and he's just like us, a huge college football fan. He loves his Gators. In fact, he sponsors our Gator Report every Thursday at 11 o'clock with Scott Carter from FloridaGators.com. But he's not just another PI attorney. He is a ferocious advocate for his clients. Scott Jeeves is a board-certified civil trial lawyer and a certified circuit court mediator practicing in Tampa Bay for over 30 years. He is an AV preeminent rated civil trial lawyer and certified circuit court mediator. Folks, these designations are not just given out. They're given only to the best trial attorneys. But more than anything, Scott takes these cases personally. I've heard it from his clients. He's a fighter you want on your side. Insurance companies hate it when they see you're represented by Jeeves. He's just different. 727-894-2929 or go to JeevesLawGroup.com. That's J-E.
Hey guys, Serena Fazan here for the Gold and Diamond Source. Are you looking for the hottest trends in men's jewelry? Ladies love to see men spice it up with something cool from the Gold and Diamond Source. Whether you're looking for a gold chain, fashion rings, even a pre-owned Rolex watch, or thinking about getting engaged, there's only one place to go. Go see my friends, Julie and Steve Weintraub at the Gold and Diamond Source for your one-stop jewelry supercenter. It's never been more important to shop local and support the businesses that support our amazing Tampa Bay community. None better than the great folks at the Gold and Diamond Source, 3800 Ulmerton Road, or online at goldendiamond.com.
Let's go. Right now, back to the show with JP on FanStream Sports.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show here, brought to you by BAMMC.com in our second hour, Bay Area Modern Medical Center, and the Jeeves Law Group, JEEVES lawgroup.com. They are also our sole sponsor of the Gator Report with Scott Carter from FloridaGators.com, who joins us now. Hello, Scotty. How are you? Are you ready for Tom Petty night at the Swamp on Saturday night? LSU comes to town.
I am ready, JP. I'm going to be writing a story about that right after we hang up here. But it's going to be a fun one, man. Tom Petty night, LSU, Florida, the Swamp. Kind of what, this rivalry is about, big game. Or it's not maybe as a big game as we've seen in the past, but I can guarantee you something's going to happen Saturday that people will be talking about afterward. Both of these programs are kind of, they're 4-2. They're both trying to get better. A lot of similarities. First time they both had head coaches in their first year since they met, since back in 2005 when it was Urban Meyer and Les Miles. So it's been a while.
Interesting. Yeah. And so what is the some of the accoutrement that's coming with Tom Petty night? The Heartbreakers going to play at halftime? What do we got? What do we got going on?
Well, I mean, they're having the Tom Petty radio show, that
nice.
They're broadcasting live from the Swamp. Obviously, his brother Bruce and his daughter Adria are going to be in town. Adria, she grew up in LA, obviously. It's going to be her first ever Gators game. So,
interesting.
They're going to see this this thing that's blossomed, in the last 5 years. They did this for the first time 5 years ago, right after he passed away. It was against LSU, and it was kind of like a one-off thing, but then it just kind of blossomed from there, and now it's just this unforgettable moment, in each game, especially the night games, when everybody has their phones up. So it's going to be a festive atmosphere, a lot of Tom Petty. I don't know. There, obviously special merchandise around the game, that kind of stuff. But there's also, it's going to be a whole Tom Petty weekend.
Yeah. Well, all right. So that's going to be fun. It's going to be a packed house. It's LSU. It's a night game. Now I saw LSU play in the opener against Florida State, and they've got athletes all over the place. There's no question about that. Defensively, a great defensive line. What are your thoughts on this LSU team? I don't think they're as bad as what we saw last week when they got pounced by Tennessee 40-13. Jaden Daniels threw for 300 yards. I think he's kind of coming into his own as a quarterback. What do you see from this LSU team?
Well, I mean, they're always athletic and physical. You see that right away. Yeah. They've got some matchups that could be problematic for the Gators. We'll start with the quarterback, Jaden Daniels. I mean, he kind of mirrors Anthony Richardson's in some ways. Dual threat guys. He's not as big as Richardson, but boy, is he fast. When he gets out in the running game, I mean, he's as fast as any quarterback in the country, probably, running the ball. And he did throw for 300 yards last week against Tennessee. It didn't necessarily show up on the scoreboard, but I think really these two teams, they're both 4-2. LSU's got one more conference win than the Gators, but I think they're both in that area where each coach is trying to establish his program. I think both teams can show a lot of improvement by the end of the season. But I think the winner of this game is definitely going to be in the lead in that race. And it's an interesting matchup in that regard. They're just so similar in where they are as programs.
It's interesting. Last week, Tennessee hit LSU for 263 yards on the ground and kind of had their way with it. And it just looks like a game that the Florida offensive line could really, really dominate, especially in the run game. You think that's what Billy Napier is thinking as far as the game plan goes?
Well, it's certainly at the top of the list because once they got the run game going last week against Missouri, that's when they kind of took off. They had 212 yards rushing in the second half. You've got Montrell Johnson Jr., Trevor Etienne, you got Naquan Wright. I mean, so you got three backs back there. You throw in Anthony Richardson, and that's four guys who can break off a big run at any time. I mean, Anthony wasn't at his best last week in the passing game, obviously, but he probably had the biggest play of the game on a pass where he scrambled for 32 yards and got him down to the 3-yard line. They score on the next play to take the lead, and that was it. They took the lead for good, and then they got some big plays defensively from Jaden Hill, interception-wise. But I think offensively, Florida mid-season, I think if they know what they have of anything on the roster right now, they know that they have a veteran offensive line and they can run the ball consistently. I think that is going to be a trademark in the second half of the season.
And you mentioned, the inconsistencies of Anthony Richardson in the Missouri game. It really was inconsistent overall. You mentioned once they got the ground game going, it was different. And, before the season started, I brought up to you and we talked a little bit about it, the SEC East, this side starting to punch back a little bit on the SEC West. And I think you've seen that with Georgia and Tennessee being undefeated, right? And even Florida 4-2. I mean, South Carolina, Kentucky, and Vanderbilt has more wins than this year than they did last year at this point. So when you look at like an inconsistent performance against Missouri, everybody goes, "Oh, it's Missouri." Is that more just about the improvements you think that this side of the conference in general has made, that these games are all going to be tough right now? It's more about that than it is just about obviously Florida trying to find themselves.
Yeah, I think it's probably a little bit of both there, Nick. I mean, Florida fans have very high expectations, as you know. Missouri, I think when they came into the league, a lot of people thought, well, that's going to be a Gator win every year. It hasn't proven out that way. I think, but to your point, the SEC is getting better in the East. I mean, Georgia is the reigning national champion. They finally got over that hurdle last year to unseat Alabama, and then going back to even 19 LSU, and they won it. Auburn's had a national title since the East had won one. And everybody talks about Texas A&M. It hasn't shown up on the field, obviously, with them. But the West has really dominated the conference in the last decade plus. I think with Georgia's emergence and now finally Tennessee and now Florida's, they're trying to get back up there because they were the kings of the East for so long until Alabama took over and really the whole conference. So I think you're going to see that. Yeah, you're going to see every week, man. I mean, there are no easy games. I mean, it's a cliche, but it's very true in this conference. Missouri is a good win. You can beat Missouri at home, maybe not do it pretty, but when you've lost to them 5 of the last 10 times, you beat them at home on homecoming. Yeah. That's a pretty good win.
That's a good win. Yeah, no doubt. Scott Carter joining us from FloridaGators.com. It's the Jeeves Law Group Gator Report. These two teams have had a weird rivalry over the years. There's a lot of stuff that's gone back and forth. We had the rescheduling of the games for the hurricane, the non-rescheduling of the games. There's bad blood between these two teams. There's no question about it. How would you characterize this rivalry and some of the strange things that have happened over the years?
Yeah, I mean, I tell people Florida Georgia is my favorite rivalry with the Gators, and then of course I look at this one as the second one, kind of 1-1A with Florida State. Obviously, the reason I love this rivalry, JP, is because these programs are similar in a lot of ways. I mean, there are always a lot of talent there. Yeah. Just a lot of athletes out of Louisiana and Florida, as you guys know, and the games have turned out wacky. I mean, that 2020 game in the Swamp during the COVID season, it will go down as still one of the weirder games I've ever seen. I'll never forget sitting in the press box and not being able to see the field. And, Marco Wilson throwing the shoe and, they make a 50-some-yard field goal. And Evan McPherson, who's turned into a great NFL kicker, he had a chance at the end and just missed a 50-some-yarder. Yeah, but it was drama all over the place, and that's just one example. I mean, last year, a shootout in Baton Rouge. 3 years ago, LSU was number 1. Florida goes in there as an underdog and went toe-to-toe with them for most of the game. Yeah. And then, of course, there's been other ones. I mean, I remember Urban Cryer became a thing with this rivalry. Remember that 05? He cried out there in the post game after he realized, wow, the SEC really is different. I'm going to have to change my offense. So he scrapped his whole offense, and they beat Georgia 2 weeks later in a game they really shouldn't have won. I think Georgia. So it's just part of SEC, man. That's what makes the league great. It's what makes this rivalry great. And there's going to be something that goes down Saturday night that we're going to be talking about next week.
No question about it. And by the way, Florida-Georgia game's coming up in a couple weeks. Georgia looks, somewhat human now, right? Like that. I'm not going to say that Florida's going to be favored, but that's a much more winnable game now. The whole SEC seems like it's up for grabs if Alabama doesn't go crazy again. So, what are your thoughts on the whole league at this point, kind of midpoint of the season?
Yeah, I mean, Georgia and Bama are still clearly the top dogs, but I'm like you a little bit. I think Georgia has looked susceptible at times, and now, Bryce Young, it looks like he may be back this week, but if he's not, it's a different team without him, obviously.
Yeah, no doubt.
So they're good. They're definitely susceptible, and that's why this game to me is so big. You can make the argument the same for LSU because they're going to have to play Bama later on, but for Florida, that's Georgia. So if you can get this win and 5-2 going into a bye week, you're going to feel really good about yourself going over to Jacksonville to play Georgia. And that's the game that could make or break Florida's season, even if they don't win the East. If they can upset Georgia, Billy Napier's first season, I think most people say it was a success.
Yeah, no doubt. I was talking to a big Florida Gator fan yesterday, one of those Bull Gators, and I was asking about Anthony Richardson, and he said, he goes, you hear all this stuff about Anthony. He's a Gainesville kid. He's got a lot of friends and family, obviously, in town. And he said something that really kind of resonated to me. He said, and he's making like $1 million+ a year. And I'm like, I just hear somebody say it. I'm like, wow. It's like, wow, a college kid. And this is such a unique situation. And think about it from a personal standpoint. So here you are, you grew up there, and now you're the king of college football in Gainesville. I mean, he's not Michael Jordan to the world, but he's Michael Jordan to anybody in Gainesville. And he's making $1 million a year. So he's got people coming at him. This is kind of the residue of NIL that nobody really thought about. And I just wonder, how focused can you be when you got people coming at you, you're young, you've got, I'm not making excuses for him, and I'm saying he's playing horrible. He's been inconsistent, but that's what young quarterbacks are, right? So how do you kind of look at how he's handling everything? Because I think it's a lot. It's really a lot on his shoulders.
Yeah. Well, I think the key is they're searching for more consistency there. And I think, we all have seen what he can do in his best moments, and it's pretty eye-popping at times.
It is.
But then you have a game like last week where they throw only for 66 yards, and some of that went into the way the game was kind of unfolding there. It wasn't necessarily anything that Anthony wasn't doing. It was just that things weren't happening for him, and you're wondering, okay, did he show up today locked in? What's going on here? And, this week's been really more of those questions about what do you got to do to find that consistency. And Billy Napier has said that, it happens in practice. I mean, you have to continually teach and coach it up. And Anthony, he hasn't talked this week to the media, JP, but, when he has a couple of times lately, he's addressed those things head on. Like, yeah, it's been a learning process. And just, I'm like you guys, you don't think about that stuff because, when we see him or I see him, he's just another Gator football player. He's around his teammates. But I saw a video on social media after the game last week. He's coming out of the stadium, and there were like 20 or 25 kids there, people wanting him to sign jerseys and balls. And, that's kind of – you haven't seen that at Florida in a while where your quarterback's that popular. And so he is definitely dealing with some of that. I do think one thing that's helping him, I think Billy Napier is well-grounded and is really working to teach him and understands this new era of college football. And I also think just from the people I've met around Anthony, he does seem to have some really good family and people around him who are watching out for his best interests. So I think he's ahead of the curve there. But until you go through it, you just don't know. And he's living it right now.
Well, he is the linchpin. There's no doubt about it to their success. And this is a huge week. And I think you framed it very well as, how this sets up your entire off week, 5-2 going into Georgia as opposed to 4-3, it's under 500 in the SEC. It's just that it's a huge difference. And, Billy Napier has been really good in close games. I think he's 19-4 in games that decided by one score or less. That's great coaching. That's great management. And that may come into play this week. No doubt about it. This could be a close game, a kicker game, right?
I agree totally. I think it will be a close game. I think it's a 2.5 spread. Yep. And these teams typically have played a lot of close games, and a lot of times it's a kicking game or trick play. I think you're going to see both coaches trying to pull into their bag of tricks maybe. That's just LSU, Florida. And, I like the coaching matchup, too. You got two guys here who are at different levels in their career. Billy Napier's that up-and-coming young guy who's been brought into Florida to revitalize a program that hasn't been at the top level for several years now. And you got Brian Kelly, who, if you look at college football coaches in the country right now, I think most people would say he's in the top 5. He's brought in for one reason. He's there to win a national title before he retires. He's 60 years old. So it's going to be interesting to see these guys battle for the next 2 or 3 years and see which program reaches the top or closest to it first.
Hey, real quick. So I'm watching the NFL on Sunday, obviously, and I noticed there was a name trending, and this is a weekly occurrence now, and it was Dan Mullen. And I know you know exactly why he was trending. Because Dameon Pierce was absolutely going off again and showing off his physical nature of running. So, I mean, we all know it. You could probably not used as much as he should have been at his time at Florida. We were just watching the run against Florida State last year. And we were just like, how do you
helmet pops up and he's still running?
How do you look at that and go, and NFL teams go, nah, we're good. Fourth round, we'll take it. But I'm looking right now. He's top 5 in the NFL in rushing yards already as a rookie on one of the worst teams. So I take it from your vantage point and from Gator fans, hardly surprised from what you've seen from him in the NFL already.
No, I'm not surprised. Maybe a little bit how quickly he's established himself. But to me, Dameon's kind of built for that league. He's just a tough guy, but he has a nice combination of toughness and quickness and speed. And he's a guy, he's a team first guy. every time I tweet something about what he's doing in the NFL, I invariably get a comment, something aimed toward Mullen like a jab, and everybody else who does the same. And I mean, we're all second guessers or can be after the fact. But even when it was happening last year, you did kind of like, okay, what's going on here? This guy is really good. But what he had Malik Davis. He had a split carries. He obviously had Naquan Wright. And it's kind of like this year, they've got 3 guys again. And that's just been Florida's approach. They haven't had a 1,000-yard runner now, I think, since Kelvin Taylor back in 2015. And they only had a couple in the last 15, 20 years. I mean, I think Mike Gillisley back in Muschamp days, I think he was the first one in several years. So it's just the way the program's been doing it for all these years. But I will say, man, Dameon Pierce, the guy, if he continues on this level, he's going to become one of those NFL guys that even if you don't like the Texans, you're going to like him because of his personality. Wait until people get to know him a little bit more.
Yeah, fantasy football players certainly know who he is. All right, Scott, great stuff. Tell everybody how they can get your content on FloridaGators.com and Twitter and all the other stuff you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, I'll start with @Gators Scott on Twitter. I send all the links out there, and they take you to FloridaGators.com. So those are the 2 places I live online, JP.
All right, partner. Appreciate it. And we'll chat with you next week. Enjoy the game this week. And Tom Petty night. Hopefully it won't be a heartbreaker for the Gators.
Well, they won't back down. I know that.
There you go. That's for sure.
Yeah.
All right, buddy. Thanks. Well, we're going to take a quick break here. When we come back, we're going to do some more college football. FSU Clemson coming up this weekend. We haven't talked much about USF this week after their almost win over Cincinnati.
The dad energy there just killing me.
What?
Impressive by Scott. He was quick on the wall.
Yeah, you won't back down. Absolutely. The best music you'll ever find. Back in 80s, 90s. It's good stuff. Good stuff. All right, we'll take a quick break. We'll do some more college football when we come back. Knowles and Clemson this weekend. That's a huge game for Mike Norvell. We'll catch you up on some of their injuries and USF as well. Coming off another almost win. Will they be able to finally get one this week? Stay with us.
Attention, if you are home shopping or looking for a refinance, and even if you already have the approval letter, you must call my man Scott Fitzgerald at American Mortgage Services. Scott has a brand new program available in the greater Tampa Bay area called the Community Advantage Loan Program. Get this, no money down, no mortgage insurance, no points, no origination fee, purchase or refinance, and loan amounts up to $647,000. Now, there are some application requirements. It must be a single-family home, 1 unit, primary residence, and have a minimum 640 credit score. The program only applies to certain neighborhoods, so you have to call to find out if you qualify. So call Scott Fitzgerald at 813-294-7595 or email him at scott@amstampa.com. Now, even if you don't qualify for that program, Scott will shop your loan around, get you the best rates, and won't charge you the huge upfront fees. And if you've had issues with your bank calling you back, Scott will return calls immediately or at least the same day. 813-294-7595 or email him, scott@amstampa.com. Scott Fitzgerald, MLS 386722, American Mortgage Services, 1000 North Ashley Drive, Suite 1020, Tampa, Florida. Military veterans, are you struggling with alcoholism or substance abuse? Is it taking a toll on your relationships and your work life? Are you having trouble focusing, constantly anxious? Well, you may not be surprised to know that your fellow military vets have your six. Heroes Mile is a new concept in rehabilitation clinics, veterans helping veterans. At Heroes Mile, we staff our rehab center with fellow veterans who can understand what you're going through. Our mission is to help you heal from issues that only your fellow veterans can truly understand. Located just outside of DeLand, we offer a full range of inpatient and outpatient programs dealing with substance abuse, post-traumatic stress, and military sexual trauma. We choose to serve veterans because we know how complex these issues are. You could choose to fight the battle alone or win the war together. We are the community care provider with the VA and also accept most major insurance. At Heroes Mile Rehabilitation Center, we have your six. Go to heroesmile.com or call 888-VET-NOW2. That's heroesmile.com or call 888-VET-NOW2.
Guys, Let me tell you about Bay Area Modern Medical Center. Are you experiencing low sex drive, fatigue, hot flashes, moodiness, and you just don't feel like you have the vitality you once had? You're not just getting old, it's likely low testosterone. Studies over the last 20 years show a shocking decline in younger males aged 16 to 39. Older men have seen a sharp decline as well. Do something about it. Go see my friend Christopher Lugo at Bay Area Modern Medicine. Testosterone replacement is not a frivolous treatment. It takes a professional, targeted approach that focuses on total body wellness, vitality, and emotional stability. Not a one-size-fits-all approach like many clinics use. They will monitor your blood work and adjust your treatment as needed for optimal results. Call 844-977-3477 or go to BAMMC.com. Tell them JP sent you for priority scheduling.
JP here for the Jeeves Law Group. I've known Scott Jeeves for quite some time, and he's just like us, a huge college football fan. He loves his Gators. In fact, he sponsors our Gator Report every Thursday at 11 o'clock with Scott Carter from FloridaGators.com. But he's not just another PI attorney. He is a ferocious advocate for his clients. Scott Jeeves is a board-certified civil trial lawyer and a certified circuit court mediator practicing in Tampa Bay for over 30 years. He is an AV preeminent rated civil trial lawyer and certified circuit court mediator. Folks, these designations are not just given out. They're given only to the best trial attorneys. But more than anything, Scott takes these cases personally. I've heard it from his clients. He's a fighter you want on your side. Insurance companies hate it when they see you're represented by Jeeves. He's just different. 727-894-2929 or go to JeevesLawGroup.com. That's JEEVES lawgroup.com and tell him JP sent you.
Hey guys, Serena Fazan here for the Gold and Diamond Source. Are you looking for the hottest trends in men's jewelry? Ladies love to see men spice it up with something cool from the Gold and Diamond Source. Whether you're looking for a gold chain, fashion rings, even a pre-owned Rolex watch, or thinking about getting engaged, there's only one place to go. Go see my friends, Julie and Steve Weintraub at the Golden Diamond Source for your one-stop jewelry supercenter. It's never been more important to shop local and support the businesses that support our amazing Tampa Bay community. None better than the great folks at the Golden Diamond Source, 3800 Ulmerton Road, or online at goldendiamond.com.
Let's go! Right now, back to the show with JP on FanStream Sports.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show, brought to you by BAMMC.com, Bay Area Modern Medical Center. If you are looking for some testosterone replacement therapy, you know, American men lose 1% of their testosterone each and every year. So you could be way, way down on your numbers. So find out. Go to BAMMC.com. They've got great programs there for testosterone replacement therapy. And folks, a lot of these fly-by-night clinics that just kind of dole out testosterone and don't really do it with a doctor's care. Not a good way to go about it because it can affect you in a lot of different ways. So make sure you're going to people who know what they're doing and will monitor you and not just, hand that stuff out like candy. Not a good idea. And that is Bay Area Modern Medical Center. Chris Lugo, we're going to get him on to talk a little bit more specifically about some of the myths about testosterone replacement theory, the benefits, and we'll let you hear it from the expert. But if you're interested in that and you're thinking, that you're not getting as much out of your workouts, maybe your libido is down, trust me, it's testosterone levels. So go to BAMMC.com. They take appointments outside of normal business hours. So if you're one of those that find it hard to schedule an appointment with a doctor, they'll go outside business hours to take care of you. BAMMC.com is the place to go. All right. As he game Tallahassee since 2018. Remember, the COVID game was famously canceled at the last moment, not the finest hour for Florida State. I'll say that. But this is an opportunity for Mike Norvell to get that signature win that he's been looking for. It's to be easy. They took a step back last year, but I think if you look at the way Clemson finished the season, the way they played this year,
Their defense is back. They are allowing 63 yards per game on the ground. They've got a host of five-star athletes up front. Brian Brees, who's going to be a first-round pick in the NFL this year, is coming back after missing a couple games. Miles Murphy, Tyler Davis. USF can win. And, they've led number 24 Cincinnati on the road. They've been in the fourth quarter, did the same thing against number 18 Florida. That's a team that you want to see finish a game and get a win over a quality opponent, which Tulane is. This is a huge opportunity for Jeff Scott. They got him at home. Go get her done.
Yeah. Real quick, just for the viewers and listeners, I dropped out of the stream there momentarily, but I am back in. So you might have lost our sound there for just a minute or two, I think it was, but we're back in there and we're all good to go. So just a note there. But yeah, you mentioned the numbers there of the Tulane defense. All I needed to see was the passing stat.
Yeah.
4th in the country against the pass. USF ain't winning this game. Okay. I don't care where it's played. It's been played in Raymond James. It doesn't matter. There's no home field advantage there anyway.
Right.
I understand Gary Bohannon had a better game against Cincinnati, but for whatever reason, this team, maybe, hey, you know what? The teams they play that are good, excluding BYU, they've showed up for.
Yeah.
And Tulane's a really good team. Maybe they'll surprise me and show up. But right now, I've got no confidence in this offense to push the ball down the field vertically through the air. I don't. I know that Jimmy Horn has now that he's gotten more part of the offense. Him and Weaver, I think they're a hell of a 1-2 punch.
They really are.
I really do. I just don't know if they have the capability to get it to them like they need to. And with this stingy Tulane defense, now Tulane hasn't played the greatest competition, but hey, they beat Kansas State.
Yeah,
they manhandled Kansas State, who has been putting points up on everybody else and has a Heisman contender in their quarterback. Tulane beat that team and gave only 10 points.
Yeah, that's
good damn impressive right there. I mean, go AAC. But USF I think is going to have an uphill battle in this one and in future games, honestly, with USF after this one.
Well, listen, I still think it's a team that you can match up with, even though they're good defensively. Make a couple of big plays,
run the ball.
Run the ball, which they can do. They've done it against Florida. They've done it against University of Cincinnati. They got the people to do it. They got to just be mistake free. You talk about Mike Norvell on game day. Jeff Scott's got to be better on game day.
Yeah.
Play calling, management of the game. That's why the great coaches win close games, and the mediocre and experienced coaches don't.
Yeah, and I tell you what, I mean, I've been listening to some of Jeff Scott speaking. You can tell this guy, he knows he's fighting for his job.
Yeah.
He knows it, and
Wow.
It's obvious to everybody, I think. But every press conference he has, he starts getting into the fight and the compete level of his players, because that's the one thing he can hang us out on, is his team's not quitting.
Nope.
And every time he starts talking about that, you see him getting visibly emotional and almost teary-eyed talking about it and mentioning guys who were recruited here to do one thing, and because of all the injuries, he's having to ask them to be put in different situations. And he said it's not easy for a recruit to have to just change all that and do all these and go above and beyond to get on the field, but they're doing it on a team that's not winning. So
yeah,
I think that's the one thing I will say, the fight and the compete level is there. And Jeff Scott, you can see he's appreciating for that. The players are still playing for him. But as we've been over time and time again, it's a wins and loss business.
Yep. And, and this is a week for a couple of programs to
want a statement win.
Yeah.
I mean, go out there and beat Tulane at home.
These are big, like we talked about this. For the Gators, this is a huge game. This is a huge game for Billy Napier. For Florida State, this is a huge game for Mike Norvell. A win really could take you to so much higher level in terms of recruiting, because Florida State goes up against Clemson for a lot of recruits and usually loses. They've got to prove that they can hang with Clemson and at some point be a national championship contender, because you just, when you're recruiting these 4 and 5 star guys, they want to go somewhere where they can win a championship. So this is a huge one for FSU, and it's USF the same way. Big weekend of college football. FSU's 7:30 kick. Florida's also 7:30 kick, I believe, on ESPN, I believe.
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out if I want to make my way over there to the swamp this week.
You wanted to go see the Tom Petty deal, bro.
I'm getting really close because I know how that atmosphere is.
What time is the USF game?
I think it's a 4:00.
Hopefully the weather's nice, a little bit more.
Yeah, it's a 4:00. I thought about going to the FSU game this week. That'd be really fun, but
that's a tougher ticket.
It's an expensive ticket, number one. And
what's the get-in price for that?
Quite the hike. Last time I checked, it was probably, I think it was like a tick under 100.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, it's just you factor in the drive and everything. It's just, I don't know.
It's a great atmosphere.
I know, but then you got
$100. It's the best $100 you'll ever spend.
And you got to stay overnight because it's a night game.
Yeah. Good luck finding someplace
exactly.
to stay. Yeah. You sleep in your car.
So the UF's a little bit different. I could drive home after a UF game.
Yeah, 4 hours back here, not a good idea after.
Yeah, but hey, let's talk about the team that's playing tonight too.
That's right.
I'd be remiss if
Space U uniforms.
The Space U uniforms are here. I cannot. You get that out of your head. What are you doing?
Whatever.
What are you doing?
Space U.
Clean.
Yeah.
Did you see the one I was wearing yesterday in the little clip?
Yeah.
Yeah. I bought that in the bookstore about 3 weeks ago. It's one of the cleanest jerseys I've ever laid my eyes on.
Yeah. Space U, huh?
Drip U.
Drip
U.
Space U.
Space U. Drip U. Yeah.
Okay. How are they going to play tonight? Who are they playing?
They're playing Temple.
Okay.
Kurt Warner's son, EJ Warner, is the quarterback at Temple.
Really?
Fun fact for you.
I did not know
So
that.
this will be his first appearance on the big stage. But I got news for him because the top 10 nationally ranked UCF defense is there. And it's gonna be a rough night for Mr. EJ Warner.
Is it at the Bounce House?
It's at the Bounce House.
Be full this time since Wednesday night was not.
It was a hurricane.
Yeah.
They couldn't get around.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, first of all, they're screwing us here with all these. We've played on Wednesday. We've played on Thursday. We've played on Friday. Why are we playing during the week so much?
Because you're UCF. You're not part of the Big Three.
It's the Big Four. And by the way, another fun fact for you.
Win a national championship.
By the way, fun fact for
get in
you.
the club.
All right. Fun fact for
you.
Yeah. On UCF. They have started 5-1 4 times before.
Mhm.
Okay. If they win this game, they're going to be 5-1.
Okay.
Do you know their combined record in those seasons?
No.
46-4 with a New Year's Six bowl appearance in every single one.
Wow.
So basically what I'm telling you is if UCF wins tonight, I'll see you on New Year's Day.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think of a way FSU can get to a New Year's Day game. I don't think that's going to happen.
They would
have to beat Clemson.
You got to
and
run the table.
Which they would. If they did, they would probably. They might
to be fair, if they beat Clemson, I think they'd be favored in every game from here on out.
Yeah, they would. Well, Florida at home. Yeah,
you're favored.
Well, there's a lot of season to go before we get there. Injuries and whatnot. But yeah, and they could if they make that run. Oof, if FSU is 10-2.
Oof.
That's not happening though.
I would like to see though. We got lucky last year and we saw Florida versus UCF. And if Florida State would have won that game, it would have been FSU versus UCF.
Yeah.
I would love to see something.
Oh, I'd love to see.
Let's say if FSU goes, let's just throw 8-4 out there because I think if I'm taking the fan hat off, I think that's what they're going to be is 8-4.
I'll go 9-3.
Maybe 8-4, 9-3. Yeah. Let's say UCF goes. Because I don't think UCF's going to win every single game from here on out. I think UCF might drop one game, maybe another. So let's say 9-3, 10-2. I don't care how it works or anything.
Yeah.
Let's just see these two teams face each other.
That would be awesome.
Let's get these weird Florida matchups.
Yeah.
Well, a little better than the Gasparilla Bowl. Let's go to that bowl in Orlando or whatever.
The Citrus Bowl?
The Citrus Bowl or something.
Yeah,
just
that'd be great. Wherever.
Play them wherever. The Gator Bowl. I don't know. They still got
that's
that?
Good. Yeah, the Gator Bowl's still going on. Yeah, there's
regardless.
Lots of choices.
I'd love to see all these Florida teams start scheduling each other.
Yeah, that's a must. FSU needs to schedule UCF and USF.
They've never played.
They've never played?
I don't think so, no. And
no, I don't think they've ever played.
UCF's got the 3 games going on with Florida starting next year.
Right.
So that's going to be going on, but I don't think they've ever played.
Wow. That's got to get done.
The Big Four all has to play each other.
I agree wholeheartedly.
So you agree that it's a Big Four?
Yep. Well, it's Big Three. Big Three have to play each other. Big Three has to play the Little Sisters.
Okay.
No doubt. All right, we'll take a quick break, and we'll come back, and we got an interesting, juicy story in the NFL. Dan Snyder, the Snyder, says he's got dirt on all the other NFL owners, and they don't want to F with him. Billionaires fighting billionaires. I'm here for it. We'll talk about that when we come back.
Serena Fazan here for the Gold and Diamond Source. Are you looking for the hottest trends in men's jewelry? Ladies love to see men spice it up with something cool from the Gold and Diamond Source. Whether you're looking for a gold chain, fashion rings, even a pre-owned Rolex watch, or thinking about getting engaged, there's only one place to go. Go see my friends, Julie and Steve Weintraub at the Gold and Diamond Source for your one-stop jewelry supercenter. It's never been more important to shop local and support the businesses that support our amazing Tampa Bay community. None better than the great folks at the Golden Diamond Source, 3800 Ulmerton Road, or online at goldendiamond.com.
Are you concerned your spouse might be cheating or want to locate a long-lost relative or love? Or a missing person and the police are not helping? An insurance adjuster who needs proof of injury. Hi, I'm Rachel D'Antonio from Tampa Bay's premier private investigation agency, Emerging Investigation. We have a proven track record of results. Local attorneys and insurance companies hire us to discover insurance fraud and crucial information in criminal cases. We can help in custody matters, and we devote a tremendous state-of-the-art technology and cutting-edge industry surveillance techniques to get you trusted results. Larger corporate agencies can be more expensive and do not offer the personal level of customer service and interaction that we pride ourselves on. We are a family-owned business. Our professional experience team includes my son, lead investigator Zach D'Antonio, a former collegiate athlete, and my daughter Emily, who leads our in-house investigations team. Don't take matters into your own hands by trying to install snooping programs on phones or GPS trackers. That can cause unneeded stress and give you inaccurate results. Go with the professionals at Emerging Investigations. We have proven results and tremendous testimonials from our satisfied customers. Call for a free consultation and we can discuss how we can help. Peace of mind is as valuable as bad news. Just go to our website, emerginginv.com, or call 813-291-FACT. That's emerginginv.com. We're Emerging Investigations. We get results in life's biggest matters.
Guys, let me tell you about Bay Area Modern Medical Center. Are you experiencing low sex drive, fatigue, hot flashes, moodiness, and you just don't feel like you have the vitality you once had? You're not just getting old, it's likely low testosterone. Studies over the last 20 years show a shocking decline in younger males aged 16 to 39. Older men have seen a sharp decline as well. Do something about it. Go see my friend Christopher Lugo at Bay Area Modern Medicine. Testosterone replacement is not a frivolous treatment. It takes a professional targeted approach that focuses on total body wellness, vitality, and emotional stability. Not a one-size-fits-all approach like many clinics use. They will monitor your blood work and adjust your treatment as needed for optimal results. Call 844-977-3477 or go to BAMMC.com. Tell them JP sent you for priority scheduling.
Pure Sports. JP is back on.
Welcome back.
FanStream Sports.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show, brought to you by BAMMC.com, Bay Area Modern Medical Center. If you're looking to lose weight, get healthy, they have some great plans available over there, doctor-directed. So instead of just trying to find a fad diet on your own, go do it the right way. Bay Area Modern Medical Center. We had Chris Lugo on a couple weeks ago talking about nutrition and dieting, and you know they have definitely have some great programs for you with some great nutrients that they inject into you, and they help you lose weight. I know it's a very rudimentary way to put it on, but you know this is science based, it's nutrition based, not some of these fad things. He does a lot with intermittent fasting as well, but it works and you keep the weight off and you do it in a healthy way. So, you know, don't go to a chiropractor or go online to find this fad diet and that fad diet. Go to somebody who can medically direct you. Look at what type of things you metabolize well in your body. Use your blood work to come up with a specific plan for you. So if you've tried a lot of other diets and it really hasn't worked, there's probably something that you're missing in here in terms of the science that will help you. So he has great plans and they work. So check him out at BAMMC.com, BAMMC.com, Bay Area Modern Medical Center, and tell him that JP sent you. All right, you got some updates for the Buccaneers in terms of practice today and injury updates?
Yes, practice is underway there at the Advent Health Training Center. Guys who have returned to practice, Mike Edwards, Carlton Davis, Sean Murphy-Bunting, and Russell Gage. They're all out there in some capacity. Cam Brate as well. Carl Nassib and Jalen Darden are back at practice.
Good.
The three that are not there are Logan Ryan, Akeem Hicks, and Julio Jones.
Shocking development.
Shocking development.
And this is per
Mr. Scott Reynolds of Pewter Report.
There you go. Thank you for that, Scott. So No big surprises there. No big surprises. Going up against the Steelers, I think, as far as Julio goes, I think at this point they're probably saying, let's just try to get him healthy for the stretch run. I don't think there's any urgent need this week to push him back and get him back in.
Especially if you get Perriman back.
Yeah.
Which it looks like they're going to.
Yeah. So, whatever's going on with Julio, I think a lot of fans are kind of, just kind of over it. It's what you expect. Akeem Hicks, same way. But the bottom line is, it would be really nice to have those guys in November and December.
Hey, I'm just going to point it out because people are saying it. Maybe Akeem Hicks is a better football player than Ndamukong Suh on the field. But Ndamukong Suh was there.
He's on the field.
Was there every single week. Every single week. Regardless of what he had going on, he was out there. Same with JP.
He didn't miss a game, did he?
I don't recall.
JPP's balling too. Did you see that?
Yeah, he'll run out of gas soon. I think.
Yeah, but we missed their leadership.
We missed the leadership.
We really missed their
leadership.
leadership.
And Vita Vea misses badly next to him.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so football is such a crazy game. It's so much of it is about your athleticism and your size and your speed, but so much about it is availability, being able to play through injuries. I talked to Rondé at length about this, and he said it's just, there's just some guys that can play, and I'm not this is not disparaging Julio or Akeem or anybody like that. It's just because you never know what's going on. Some guys are just chronically injured. Their bodies just are done, especially at this age and playing this game, they're just done. They can't play. But I mean, there were years where Rondé played through a PCL tear, played defense, ran up and down the field through a PCL tear.
And that's what Julio's going through, right?
Yeah. Some guys just figure out a way to play and play effectively, and other guys just don't have the confidence to do it, and just can't. They're just wired differently.
You hurt your team sometimes.
Yeah.
You get out there and some people may look at it, oh, he's such a badass. Look at him. He's doing
right.
I think we're starting to find out, no, you're just being a liability to your team sometimes.
And there's absolutely.
Like JPP last year, I love you for trying, but you were a liability last year.
You were a one-arm bandit.
Yeah.
But even with a one arm,
I appreciate him trying.
But his leadership was out there. The leadership was out there. And I don't think anybody's getting bored out there when JPP's out there. You know what I'm saying? There's guys that, will just lead you through this and tell you when to pick it up and when you have to pick it up. And you just miss their presence. That's why leadership is so vitally important. And the Bucs have to find a way in this run defense. I'm concerned about their run defense. Shouldn't be a problem this week against a bad Pittsburgh Steelers run game and offensive line. They should get after Pickett. There's no reason this should be a football game this week. No reason. But in the NFL, it tends to happen.
Yeah.
It tends to happen. Maybe the refs have anything to do with that. All right, the Dan Snyder story. We got to get to that. This is bizarre. You read most of it this morning. I did not have time to read the vigil. That was
it is a long article, folks.
Yeah, but basically, my takeaway was from the little I got was that, and you look at the way the NFL has treated Dan Snyder.
Yeah,
I mean, they have given we're going to fine him $10 million. Did he really get fined $10 million? Let's see the receipt on that. Where did that money go? And then your wife can run the team, but you can't be around the team. I mean, come on. Those aren't penalties.
No.
Those are penalties. And, with Washington, it's so bad that our own government, the congressmen are investigating the Redskins because they have, the Commanders. They have no confidence that the NFL is doing anything about it, the workplace environment that he's created. But now we know why. Why is that?
Well, according to the article there, it was done by Seth Wickersham and a couple other ESPN writers. So Dan Snyder hired multiple private investigators to go after the rest of the owners in the league, league offices, and Roger Goodell. And he claims that he has what they've called dirt on everybody and that he's untouchable. And I think one of the quotes in there was, "They can't F with me," is what Dan Snyder said. But there's a lot of skepticism from people that he can just keep saying all this and not reveal anything, but it's enough to make people go, okay, well, we really don't want to remove him because all this stuff that he might have could come out, which I think is damning in itself, right?
Yes.
That the NFL knows this.
Absolutely it is.
They know this. They just want to know what exactly does he know. But there's like 30 sources in here, people inside the Washington building who have said these things that have been there and everything. So there's a lot to this article. You can tell they've been working on this one for months on end, knowing how long it is. But it is a bombshell report. I recommend if you have some time to get in there and read it. You might have to have a dictionary next to you for some of these for some of the stuff that you see in there. But it's fascinating.
This is a kind of the money quote here to me. The NFL is a mafia. Snyder recently told an associate, all the owners hate each other. And that's not true. One veteran owner says all the owners hate Dan. Interesting. So they're all a bunch of mafias, individual mafias. I don't know about all that.
Why do these guys have so much?
Who do you believe?
I don't know. You said it before we came back. Billionaires fighting with billionaires.
By the way, as I think about it, both could be true. They all hate Dan, and they all kind of hate each other.
Of course they do.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say my sense is they don't hate each other, but these are all very successful businessmen who have had. And you don't get to where they are without stepping on some toes.
Nobody does.
You just don't. But Snyder is a special kind of slimy.
Well, the whole thing with the sexual assaults and the sexual harassment and all that, and of course the NFL just a little. Oh, stop it, Dan.
Yeah,
stop it, Dan.
Yeah.
There's nothing serious going on here with the league. And why is the league? That's why it has to go to Congress, because you think you trust the league to make the right decisions and to take it serious.
No. So. Yeah, it's just, to me, I've always kind of known, and this is why I don't take the league seriously sometimes, because they come out with these PR moments, and we're going to stand up against domestic violence, but we're going to give Deshaun Watson the historic $240 million guaranteed contract. We're not going to stand up, for racism or whatever. We have two black head coaches. We're not going to. It's all window dressing. It's all, but we're going to put safety in the game. Here, Tua, get back in there. I mean, come on. I don't believe any of it. I don't believe any. It's all a PR play. I think there's more to it than what Dan Snyder's saying. But I do think there's a lot of shenanigans that go on in the NFL.
Of course there
I think the owners protect each other. I think, a lot of it is for show. And, I'm just.
I don't trust a damn one.
No.
There's not one owner in the NFL that I trust, honestly. I mean, I know you've been around some owners before, and I know you speak highly of Arthur Blank and everything.
Yes.
So I don't want to.
Yeah, I think Arthur Blank is a paragon of virtue compared to Dan Snyder.
We can speak to the Glazers.
I've known the Glazers for a long time, not really well. Brian more than anybody, and they're just. I think they're more regular people than anybody knows. And the Glazers, I think, are good, very, very good people at heart. They really are. I think, at times they've seemed incompetent back in the day. Don't ask Man U fans about it. But it's my personal interactions and from observing them as owners the past 15 years, especially after the post-Man United purchase, they've been exemplary in every way. They've been great in the community. They've been great. The $2 million they handed out for the hurricane. Everything they've done in the community under Brian Ford's watch over the past decade, they've really come along. You talk to the old charities been back in the day, and they would just dog cuss the Buccaneers. But since the Glazers and Brian Ford have started running this, it's changed tremendously. Yep. So, as people, what I know of the Glazers, they're really, really good people. Yeah. And I think they've done a great job as owners. I really do. So they flipped it. Some of these other owners, Stephen Ross, Dan Snyder, Jerry Jones is just he's just pure comedy anyway. He's entertainment, but there's a lot of them that are shady dudes. But when you got that much power and money, you do whatever the hell you want.
Sell the team.
Yep. All right. Thanks to Kasey Hudson. Really enjoyed having her on the show today. Thought she was fantastic as always. Scott Carter, tremendous information there on the Gators. So if you missed those interviews, go back and check them out. We talked about the Rays survey early on in the show. That was we did some Bucs and Rays early on. So if you missed that, go back and download our app, folks. FanStream Sports, all one word. You can listen to the show anytime, anywhere. Just tap that app, and the show will pop up. Always on YouTube as well. Watch the show. Please subscribe to our YouTube page and have your friends subscribe to our YouTube page. We're trying to get those numbers up. At FanStream JP, at the JP Peterson Show, at Nick Geddes News. Please watch all of our and like all of our socials. Have a great day, everybody. We will chat to you tomorrow.